Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining. We're going to have a kind of a podcast discussion session here. Not your, typical webinar of slides after slides, but we're just going to have a number of topics to discuss that were covered in the outline. And we have Ashish, who is our CEO and founder of DvSum, and he's going to be talking through the topics as I raise them. Welcome, Ashish.
Good to be here, Andrew.
Okay, great. So let's go ahead and jump into this topic, which is how to uncover how to tap GenAI's potential within your organization. Okay, so first topic we have is what are the best areas to leverage GenAI? So Ashish, you've been talking to lots of different companies, and DvSum has lots of capabilities around GenAI. So what are your thoughts on the best areas to leverage GenAI?
Yeah, Andrew, I think we can stop sharing the screen.
Sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, of course, it's the buzzword. It's the latest one that new shiny thing. But what I'm seeing that companies are everybody has recognized that I think we have to leverage AI now. The challenge is how to identify what it can. I mean, there's a lot of things. Everybody has gotten used to Chat GPT, and so it can do a lot of things. But how to apply it inside the enterprise is still a struggle that a lot of companies are at. So the way we think, or I think about, is thinking about three buckets. You have to tie it to some sort of a business value. And of course, ultimately the business. So I mean, the most common thing is improving productivity, or efficiency. That clearly has a cost. Eventually the goal is it will help drive better reduction in cost. Another one is efficiency. Customer experience. What can you do in terms of GenAI? So an example of that would be using AI to surface a chat bot capability, a lot more intuitive than how the bots were developed before, for the customers to self-service information, self-service actions. That was originally the chatbot. The whole reason chatbots exist is that, and using GenAI as the engine behind, rather than building your own or a workflow-based thing, is clearly a second use case. And what's the value? Customer experience. And of course, the third is leveraging GenAI for use cases for uplifting of revenue, whether it's assisting the marketing teams when running with more improving the accuracy of their campaigns, or it is helping the sales team with information that can help them do an upsell, cross-sell to existing customers, or more insights, essentially, that can help them increase revenue. So what I'm saying is that I think companies should think about first. So one bucket, one way to put them is, which of all the use cases, what is it helping at? To give you an example, there is a customer of ours who, uh, when they started this AI program last year, to say, okay, everybody submit their ideas in this spreadsheet or in this portal. And so they were within a 2 month period before they closed down that poll. They had 50 use cases coming from every department, from sales, marketing, IT, procurement. And they prioritize those use cases, which I know we are going to talk about. But the point is, if you just go and ask for ideas, everybody's going to throw in ideas. How do you know which one is good, which one is not? How do you know one is a point use case versus this is a strategic use case? I think this framework of, hey, what does it help with in the business is a critical first step. So
Great.
I'll stop
Yeah,
with that, and let's talk, follow-ups.
Yeah, just to reiterate and summarize so that we keep the audience aware. So I think you were saying, in order, number one, increase productivity. So be able to get answers fast and iterate and move on with your work. Number two, improve customer experience. For example, the customer service agent can help their customers more quickly, and or even the customer themselves can do some self-help probably. And number three, around sales. So for example, have an agent be able to upsell and cross-sell quickly and efficiently in the manner of the interaction with the customer just by referring some quick questions on the side, for example. Okay, so what's next topic? What's the best way to leverage Gen AI for your company's growth and to counteract competition?
Yeah, so I mean, this is a continuation of a previous thing. So clearly, one is about like everybody knows we have to do it. I think one of the drivers for that is, AI used to be a differentiated capability between companies who compete with each other. Now AI has become table stakes. The end customer is expecting that you have some sort of AI. Now, even in B2C world, I mean, companies expect that your website has an intelligent chatbot that can not only answer basic questions about the website, but like Bank of America, a few years ago, they rolled out Erica, which is their bot, and it's almost like an expectation now. I mean, the consumer is going to move if you don't have it. So that's the first recognition that AI has become table stakes. The second, therefore, is that, what, again, the best ways to leverage is, to identify. So the second framework in our framework, we call it uh, the importance of that use case. So clearly, let's take an example. I uh, I am I have a use case where we can use AI to help with analyzing our spend data for procurement. Great. Very important use case. Today, it takes 5 analysts in a large procurement organization to do spend analytics, do savings. And if we can use AI to assist with that, it can potentially identify another $1 million of opportunity. Great. Versus, let's take another one where, okay, and I'll use the same kind of example. I have a nurse practitioner who spends 5 hours every day or 5 hours each day. So two cases of claim denials where she can, if we can use AI to help summarize what otherwise she's going to spend 5 hours on in order to make a disposition about the claim. Each claim, uh, so here it's not about accuracy. It might not give any gain in terms of dollars on the claims, but the gain is the efficiency. Between these two use cases, so what's the difference in them? Both of them are valuable. The difference is one of them is an operational use case. The value of each one, I mean, let's say a nurse practitioner's salary is 75,000 dollars or 100,000, and you're saving 5 hours. I mean, if you do the math, maybe it's a savings of about $5,000 for that, right? $10,000 million versus this. Still, the second one is important. Why? Because an operational use case has a higher engagement index, meaning the value is continuously delivered. I mean, yes, I can use, because we have to remember human beings are still superior to AI in many cases. If I need something once a year to be done or once a quarter to be done, and it takes me a little bit more time to do it, but I don't have all the issues that come with AI, then that is not as attractive as, hey, today, every day, every hour of the day, I'm spending time, and if AI can assist in that case, it's better. So if we take those example and generalize it, a use case with a high operational use case, high engagement index, should be the ones that companies should focus on first versus use cases where AI can be of value, but the usability is not, on an everyday basis. So that's one way for them to think about, how to enable use cases. And then if you think about from a competitive, another thing with competitive differentiation, since we mentioned, so one is, okay, everybody should have, I mean, it's a table stakes capability. But the second is, how quickly can you roll this capability out, right? And a lot of companies are, there is a inherent desire to, solve world hunger. And many times I think, some of this we are also spoiled. We look at Chat GPT and can do everything, a lot of things. Uh, if you apply the same thing to the enterprise, the bots are, you cannot do that. The reason is because now we are talking about, if an answer is wrong on chat GPT, I mean, really, who cares? Or it's not going to bring an impact, an actual impact in a company. But when you're running it inside the enterprise, or you're making decisions out of it, it clearly has an impact. And of course, people are going to be more accepting. Let's say the users are going to be, will have very high threshold for acceptance. So it's very important that you pick a small use case, or pick a small example, or pick a small area to enable AI on, show value, because you'll have more control, you'll have less hallucinations, more accuracy, and time to market is important. I think customers are looking for, or in your competitive sales cycles, customers are looking for, hey, you have AI capability, but that AI capability has to be useful, and it should be working, and it should not have errors. And so that's another, so those two dimensions, prioritizing of your use case, and the other being um, uh, the picking a small use case so you have a quicker time to market. Those are the two things. Andrew, I believe, I apologize. Andrew is, I believe there might be some connection problems. Let me continue in terms of our conversation here. So I think he said back. The third topic that we were going to talk about here was, you know, okay, great. We've identified that we should do, how we do it. Um, how do you prioritize even further? So, again, in the same vein of, should we do it, quick time to market, what are the ways to align it to the third is, so okay, even then, I have two ideas. Uh, in terms of enabling AI, how do I prioritize that? How do I prioritize them? So one aspect I mentioned is about the operational versus once in a while kind of use case, right? The second dimension, of course, is about, um, if you think about another dimension that we call it is answer, assist, and automate. Now, what do I mean by that? If you think about the use of AI, so I can use it for a simple Q&A. For example, I have all my PDF. I think I'm sure everybody has seen demos. I can load my knowledge base into AI, and I can allow a natural language interface to ask questions about those documents, and it gives me the answer. And it's Q&A. The second elevating that value to, so that's fine. It's assisting a user to be more productive. There is not enough value to the organization yet, because I'm getting an answer. My user still has to apply his logic, etc., to actually achieve what they're trying to achieve with that answer, the knowledge worker. The second, we call it assist mode. This is where, of course, when you think about co-pilots, that's what it is, right? It is not just helping me answer a question, it's helping me achieve an objective. If we take the same example of nurse practitioner, if AI can summarize the document and is able to allow the nurse to review it, and then she's able to submit, if that is the only job she's doing, then it is in an assistant mode. uh, However, to me, there's a questionable thing. Assistant could be, let's say I'm trying to build I same PDF documents, let's talk about. I ask a question and say, okay, my goal is I'm doing a research, or I want, let's take marketing example. I've understood all of this information. My goal is to create content that I want to then publish a good, high quality blog post. That is my role in the company. And if now I can use AI to come up with an SEO optimized content that I can then reduce my time to create, but ultimately I still have control, then that is an example of an assistant. And so assistant mode, which is a co-pilot, is the one that, of course, it brings value to the user because they are being more productive, and it is bringing value to the organization because efficiency of a user equals more scale, more productivity, reduced cost, etc. The third, of course, if we take it next level, is the concept of automation. Now, when we say automation, and I differentiate, I put a fourth A, which is automation and autonomous. And then automation could be where AI is used not just to uh, assist a user, but also to take action. So if we follow the same example of marketing, I created a content using AI and I say, okay, go ahead and publish the content. And the AI is able to execute APIs that can publish the content to the website, create social media post on its own. Let's just say, because you're using multiple platforms and it was able to automate that. That is the definition of automate. Now, if you see here, the value is significantly higher for the organization. The user's value is decreasing, right? And now you have significantly higher productivity. Maybe you don't need, the company might need to repurpose that knowledge worker or that marketing person in some other place in the organization because you don't need, because all the processes can be automated. Now, okay, is that the ultimate goal? Not yet, because if you see who triggered the process was still triggered based on a step in the workflow. The real, and then the final stage of AI is autonomous. And autonomous, if we take the same example, but maybe a slight variation, is how AI gets triggered. If that can be automated, which a slightly different example, I will say. So, telecom customer. Today, first, user calls that they have a modem problem. And let's say the AI is able to assist in resolving or rolling the truck, going to tier 3 support, resetting the modem, etc. Right? That's automating. But here, the user initiated the request. Now imagine where the telemetry information, the information is already being captured, and using monitoring capability, whether it's AI or rule based, before even the user says, I have a problem with my modem, if we can detect that there is a problem in the modem, and that can trigger the AI resolution workflow, and you simply notify the user that, hey, you know what, I detected a problem which might be causing speed issues for you. And we already analyzed this is the reason for the problem. And now we are, taking the action way to take. Now, this is a true autonomous stage. There is no human involvement from that company's, the telco company standpoint that is required. So again, I explain these examples to highlight that when we are thinking about prioritizing the use cases, clearly, the tail, the accuracy to achieve, the more we go towards automation and autonomous will be higher. And so again, important focus is on the answer mode, the assist mode. That is in terms of, the scope, what is more operational versus once in a while use case versus non-tactical and strategic. And the third is, bucketizing them into somehow connecting them to the dollars, right? Whether it's cost, customer experience, or revenue. Those are the three dimensions in how companies should be prioritizing their use cases with GenAI.
Great. Let's take a moment to recap. You already did just a moment ago, one recap, but what I'm noticing is, and I apologize, I had some technical difficulties. Thanks for keeping the plane flying, Ashish, while I got back on. I've noticed that some people are streaming in, and I want to welcome folks. As questions pop up, go ahead and submit those, and we'll see if we can field those on the fly. Now, let me recap some topics for those of you who came in a little bit later. So we talked about, best areas to leverage GenAI, and Ashish is our CEO and founder of DvSum, and he's been commenting on what he's been observing, and also taking into account offerings of DvSum, which has GenAI powered offerings ourselves. But first off, he was saying, for example, look at the business initiatives at the highest level that you want to drive with your company. Examples he offered were, number one, increase productivity. Number two, increase customer experience engagement. And number three, it could be increase sales, for example, upsell and cross-sell. And then he talked about, how do you prioritize? And he was raising the point, as he mentioned a moment ago, there are those tasks that are high engagement that you're doing kind of constantly on an employee level basis. And then there's the every now and then type task. So you can kind of bucket them that way. And then you also need to take into account how GenAI may be employed. So I think the three A's that you had suggested, Ashish, were number one, answer. So answer some quick questions for me. Number two, assist, also known as co-pilot, to help me do my daily task. I think you put a lot of emphasis on that one, as well as the first one. You know, we take for granted the first one about asking, meaning, oh, that's already handled by a BI tool. Actually, it's not. You know, having that natural language interface that you can just have a discussion with the data in the manner of a ChatGPT is something that is super valuable. And I think people are aware that the assist and the automate are two areas that they can focus a lot of attention around, get a lot of value out of as low-hanging fruit today. And then that third one you mentioned, third A, automate. And I think you didn't pose it in such a way. You were saying, hey, that's when you have humans that are no longer in the loop. And what I would suggest, I know we've had prior discussions about that, is that's something you want to be careful with if it's not obvious. So in other words, things that cannot be undone. Maybe you want to start with things that can be reversible, things that are low risk. You know, start with those kinds of tasks, right? To roll out first before you start rolling out automation with, obviously, with business critical stuff. Okay, so I think I got us caught up, and we've got a number of topics to move forward. So how about we talk about build versus buy, and in particular, choosing between point solutions and enterprise platforms, specifically if you're going to buy. So I guess there's three options there. There's build, there's choosing a point solution to buy, and there's choosing an enterprise platform to buy. And there's many ways to slice that. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah. So let's first define, I mean, very briefly, when we talk about depending on the use case, right? I mean, clearly, let's talk again, I'll use the example of every company, every enterprise has a core capability. If it's an insurance company, it's their insurance workflow. If it's Uber, it is their matching algorithms. If it is Amazon, it is their distribution network. Again, these are big companies, but you can apply it to the small ones as well. Everybody has a core function. Think about DvSum. Our product engineering as a technology company, that is our core, that is our IP. We need cloud operation support. We need marketing support. We need XYZ. Sales is core to us. Some of these other functions, cloud operations, etc., is critical for us to operate, but they are not core to us. So just like that, every company has a core and a critical function. First dimension to use is you want to develop AI on your core yourself. Why? Because that's your IP. So anything you want to develop on your core capability, you don't want everybody else to know about it. So now again, that's one dimension to use. Hey, if I have a difference, and certainly you should not try to develop your own solution, you know, for the critical parts. That's what you definitely want to buy. Now, when we think about, the second dimension to use though, right, is that right now AI is still a very nascent, I mean, the generative AI is still very nascent in terms of, you know, like there is, of course, Azure OpenAI. I mean, if you think about generative AI for everybody, there is the models, right, the one that have the intelligence, and then you need a bot or an interface into the models, which is what ChatGPT is. ChatGPT is a chatbot running on top of OpenAI. Similarly, there are three main models that are out there, you know, one from Gemini from Google, Claude from Amazon, Anthropic Amazon, and then OpenAI, which again, the enterprise version of it is the one hosted in Microsoft Azure, which is Azure OpenAI. So those are the three most mature public models available. Now, when anybody's thinking about using AI themselves, I think the second dimension important is that are you going to use the public model or private models? If you think about using AI, a public model, immediately that is not acceptable to most organizations. Why? Because you don't want to send your data to AI, right? Most of the use cases require I mean, there are some things we have done in DvSum, which is unique on a particular use case, but in general, you have to feed the data to AI in order for it to come up with a response. So if you do that, of course, the enterprises won't allow it, which means what are the options if you want to develop in-house? You have to deploy your own LLMs and open source LLMs and train a model. It's very few companies and very few, let's say, process. It's clear on how you can take a commonly generated model which has been trained on, the entire world's internet, and feed it some small piece of information of your enterprise which can influence its capability. So the point being, my point in all going into this technology details is that I think developing your own from scratch is clearly not a viable solution. From cost standpoint, accuracy standpoint, you're starting very far behind. Now, most certainly, very large companies like the banking industries, etc., they would be, investing in that experience or investing in that thing for the next 2 or 3 years. But that's not what every organization should do. Especially because if you remember, I said time to market is of importance of getting the capability out. So, what is the other option? I leverage a capability, a platform capability, or a point solution. That was the second part of your question, Andrew. And so my answer there is, I think it depends on the use case. If you have, as part of that initial exercise, identified very clearly that these are the four AI models or AI capabilities that we are going to uh, roll out in the company, and you have established AI governance, and you have established an organization of technical prompt engineers and AI developers, then platform is the right strategy, because you want to it's almost like we had data platforms, we have analytics platforms, and now we have AI platforms. And so getting that platform in and developing your packaging capabilities to create your AI products. If people remember the data terminology, there is a concept of a data product, like a report or analytics bucket is a box is a data product. Similarly, an AI product is your chatbot. And if you're going to develop many of them, you have to make sure you have invested in people. Same things apply: people, process, technology. The only difference, so AI's governance is your process, prompt engineers and developers, AI developers are your people, and technology is the enterprise platform. However, that is a journey which, IT and CIOs, and they will be the first one to run towards that. However, as if you're from the business, you say, okay, same here, been there, done that. It'll take 2 years for me to roll out the first model. That's where the point solutions come in. If you have clearly, there are companies, including DvSum, where we are focusing on very specific use case. So if you find a particular company that has solved a very specific use case that aligns with your need, I certainly think at this point in the game, Andrew, companies should go for it. One, it's an off balance sheet innovation. Somebody already has built a product. If it fits your need, you should go for it, because again, time to market is critical. It's not a commoditized technology where others in your organization themselves will be able to replicate it as quickly. But so those are the three things. Core, try to build it in-house. It'll take time. Multi-solution, use a platform. Quick time to value, use a point solution.
Great. Thanks for that summary. So we still have people coming in, and I'm going to remind folks, go ahead and submit questions. It looks like folks are being shy. I don't see any questions coming in yet, and that's fine. If you want to reach out to us afterwards, feel free to email. We'll be reaching out to you as well. And we do have the recording that will be made available as well. So one more topic here.
And Andrew, I also want to be cognizant of our time. Do we have enough time?
Well, I think we can fit this in. I think
Okay.
you're moving along very efficiently.
Okay.
Now, having said that, this is a bigger topic that I would argue, maybe we could do a whole nother session next time. But why don't we try to cover at the highest level if you want to give it a try? So it's what are the pitfalls with respect to deployment of Gen AI, whether security or otherwise? So it's a juicy topic.
Yeah, and I'm just to be respectful of everybody's time, we'll finish it. And for everybody who has joined, I mean, you might find a little bit of informality in the way we are presenting, and it is by design because this is not a topic you want to hear slides on. You want to hear from people in experience, and hopefully you found it interesting. So on this topic, I think we'll wrap up quickly, Andrew, and perhaps do a follow-up or send it to the folks over. I think some of the papers we've written or blog posts. But I think the key pitfall. So after all of this, all that we talked about was what solution should I use, what use cases I should solve, and how should I prioritize. That's the, let's say, one important part. But the second part is also taking stuff to production. And there is a lot of things. I think everybody thinks about hallucination. It's an important thing. It's one thing to say I'm writing a white paper, I made a mistake, and the AI gave a confident answer incorrectly, so fine. Versus I'm making the nurse practitioner example, I summarized it wrong, and my claim got denied because of that reason. That's a whole different game, right? So I think the pitfalls are a lot of times people are excited running through it, thinking, oh, because I'm able to run it, it works. No, you need to have expectations set that if 20%, 30% of time takes in developing, you need at least 70% of the time in really making it production ready. I think that has to be factored in any projects that people are thinking or setting expectation with the business. We are recognizing ourselves. I mean, we have shortened the training, that fine tuning part or the training part to a couple of weeks with our customers, but we did not anticipate. We thought it will be good right off the bat, but that's not the case. So that's an important consideration. And the other is about the guardrails around it. I think the perfect example is what that came in the news last year, where Samsung really shut it down, use of OpenAI or that website from inside the company network, because they found that people were essentially loading company sensitive information into ChatGPT to find answers. So, well, that's one thing. What about, privacy information? So again, this is not a new problem, but I'm just saying that again, as companies are trying to enable, it's very important to second have the pitfall really is about how do you ensure privacy and compliance of maintaining privacy and compliance while you use LLM, specifically if you use a public LLM. So I know some organizations are, I heard of a company they've come up with a solution where they can take your prompt and mask the private information and then send the prompt. Now, it's not an easy thing to say because sometimes the valuable information is in the prompt. So it is not an easy answer to solve. I mean, but I'm just saying that's another pitfall. So because otherwise, putting it in production without having those guardrails, what's going to happen is either InfoSec will come in and shut down the project or not allow it to go to production. And worse is that there's data leakage that happens, which is even bad for the company. So those to me are the two big, and I know this is a topic by itself. We can certainly go down into what are the ways in which to address those pitfalls. But those are the two: hallucination or accuracy and reliability of the bot, and the other is privacy and compliance of the data that is used in the bot.
Well done. Thank you, Ashish. I think, yes, we can close the session now. I'll just put up your contact details in case people want to reach out to you directly. Again, we'll be reaching out to folks as well directly, and we'll have this recording available. Thank you, everyone, for your time, and this concludes the session.
Thanks, everyone, for joining, for those who joined.